What's up, Internet? It's Nick Forker here. Welcome to Comics People. Today we're going to talk about how to make a cartoon character. Okay, so a long time ago, about 5 years to be exact, I made this drawing. And I wrote this sentence: sometimes I feel like a giant eye, watery and fragile, but recording. That was in January of 2020. Then something happened that year. I can't remember what. It doesn't beg mentioning. But all through 2020, I started drawing this character over and over again. Now, this character just kind of showed up on the end of my pencil and in my sketchbook. But look at how different I drew it, let's say in 2020, than how I drew it in 2025. And in fact, I have that original drawing right here for you to check out. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about how this came to be and how you might create your own comic book character, one that you might want to draw over and over again. Well, that was 5 years ago, and I created a ton of artwork. And I started publishing it in 2022. In 2025, I revisited these very earliest works and decided I wasn't happy with them. So what did I do? Well, I went ahead and re-inked them. And as you can see, I've learned something in about 5 years, if you can see the difference there. Now, I knew this stuff was never finished. It never felt finished to me. And so what I did was I just revisited it with all of the skills that I've learned along the way. Now, what does that have to do with this cartoon character? Well, a couple things. One, and this is something I always tell my students, if you're gonna make a cartoon character, it should be something that you want to draw. I tell them, you're gonna draw this character thousands of times, so it should be something you want to draw, that is fun for you to draw. Do you like spacemen? Draw outer space characters. Do you like trucks? Draw some trucks. Whatever it is that works for you. And look at the difference after you draw a character, and I mean like thousands of times. I draw this early on. I drew this more recently. I mean, the difference is clear. It's like that first season of The Simpsons, right? They go from looking wonky to looking more stylized and kind of locked in. And I think anything you draw will make that transition. So I had about 100 files of stuff that said Island on them. I mean, I really do have stacks of this, and we can go over this at some point. Maybe I'll take you through the stacks. But I wanted to look at some of these drawings, and I was just going to dive in and see what we could find. You know, this is some of my earliest work here, where I made a stencil of the panel borders, and I would go in and just stencil out a bunch of pages like this with a 6-panel grid. Me trying out my best Looney Tunes here. Doing one-pagers, right? Ridiculous. And here is some of my earliest thumbnails for issue 1. So I learned a lot about these characters along the way. I'm just trying to make heads or tails of this. But you can see me figuring out like hands and panels. It's amazing how much, I guess I was gonna originally do this as like real people and then switch it over to Island. It's really funny. But it's amazing how much you actually draw a character. Like I was saying, like some of the earliest drawings of this character show up in these files with other stuff, extras like avatar images that I've created, stuff that I made for like stickers, things where I'm, you know, just jotting down the character. And then like really getting into some of the hatching and going full underground style. One-off strips, you can find this in the Clamp. Stuff is just buried. I found this piece of rainbow scratch board in Maui actually, and I kept it and then scratched it in Island with my fingernail or something. Anyway, the reason why I'm going through these archives today is I want to show you the journey as you create a character and where you might take it and kind of letting it change. So, you know, I have a lot of stuff in here and we can look at this as we go. There's just stuff that I've totally even forgotten about, and things that became comics along the way. So let's talk about it. Let's say I want to design a character, and you know, for Island, it worked really easily because I knew I kind of wanted to do a circular character. So the first thing I did was create a circle and then a circle and a circle, right? And when I do the hat, it's just like starts as a halo. I create the kind of extension of the crown of the hat, and then I create the brim there. I almost called it a lapel. Do the ribbon and whatever. And this is what I would do with pencil, of course, not usually with marker like this. But what I do is I always draw through the form, and then I go ahead and flesh out what needs fleshing out. I use some elbow macaroni for arms and legs, or I like to say like a bendy straw. And I create a circle for the hand, and that's where I start my fingers and thumb. So you see, if I was using a pencil, obviously I would be erasing some of these lines, but again, you always want to draw through. So you can do that here. Now, I learned some things along the way. One, circles, squares, and triangles. These basic shapes convey meaning. Circles are usually safe. Squares are usually strong. And triangles indicate action. And sometimes villainy. So why is that? Why are circles safe, squares strong, and action is attributed to triangles? Well, if you think about it, like the womb or the cave is where this comes from. Circles within circles, very safe. If you think of strong, think of like Kingpin's character from Spider-Verse. A big square character creates strength, right? They look strong, broad shoulders. I mean, blocks can build on one another, so they're very strong. I didn't know this when I made this character, but I realized afterwards that I was really going for this appealing, fresh-faced character here, and it was important that they were irrespective of culture or gender, because I didn't want to exclude anyone. I wanted everyone to be included, and I thought, well, what is a good semiotic for that? And that was the eye. I mean, we all have eyes, and so it's a kind of universal symbol for consciousness. And so when I drew it, I decided I would go with that. Now, I decided on this circle character, and I added some things here that I decided on this circle character, and I added things from my actual life. So when you see Island, you might see a hat that is like a stingy brim fedora. That is kind of just a hat that I admired from the Blues Brothers. The outfit that Island wears is actually a throwback to the Catholic school uniform that I had to wear as a kid. And then the color scheme, the orange and navy and white, is reminiscent of, and a little bit of red. It's reminiscent of two things. One, the hawk from He-Man, and two, the branding for United Airlines, which was all around my house when I was a kid. So when I go through this character, I wanted to make them fun and endearing, and I'm practicing my kind of Bigfoot cartooning style here. I mean, the idea here was to create a character that I could tell stories, any kind of story with. So that first year, I put out about 11 books. I went ahead and published one book each month on a monthly schedule, all of 2022, all the way up to 11. And that's when I felt like things really changed for me. Once I did that, I started to put out other books. I don't have them all here. I have some of them. I'm missing 14 and 15. This is just kind of what I have laying around. I published, 5 more. And this not only gave me the experience I needed, the momentum I wanted, but it firmly established this character as a character I knew that I would draw forever. I mean, I still draw them, and I still have fun. They still populate my sketchbooks, and I'm still dreaming up ideas for them. Of course, I could never just stick with one thing. I was never that way as an artist. So now I've launched into a kind of serialized. I mean, I just drew this last night. This is how I make things, right? I find something I'm fascinated with, and I move all in on it, and I continue to do it until it's run its course, and this just hasn't run its course yet. I think I took this character out into the wilderness through these books, and I want to bring them home. I've done about half of Island so far, and I think I might be getting to the point now where some of these books are out of print. I might just start collecting them. I'm not sure. That remains to be seen. It remains to see how much effort I want to put into it. We can continue to look at some drawings. This is like me doing some titles. Pretty interesting. Me laying out covers. You can't really see this here, but I guess you can kind of see the pencil. Me practicing with some different color schemes for the character, and then just drawing this character ad nauseum. You'll see a lot of these kind of like clip art or ancillary art that you'll see in title pages and stuff. Let's see, Island number 3, right here. Pretty cool. I mean, this is what it's all about, just figuring out what works. And I went through a lot of changes as I made these comics. So anybody who wants to make a comic book character, I encourage you to do it. I encourage you to think about your overall shape. I think one of the most important things you can do for your character is create an outline that is memorable, right? Like, the one piece of advice I'll give is when it's in silhouette, we should definitely know who that character is. Regardless if we can see the details or not, we want to know who they are. And I think if you can achieve a memorable silhouette, you'll always have a memorable character. And when I was doing Island, I was doing exactly that. And I did it kind of intuitively. I created a shape. And you know, another thing with this is like, I did my homework. I looked around and I thought I checked in as many places as I could to see if some character like this already existed. And although many people have drawn anthropomorphized eyeballs, we see them walking through the backgrounds of a lot of comics actually throughout history. No one had kind of created one and given it a name in earnest, so I felt like it was waiting for me. And I knew I didn't want to sit on it because then somebody else would do it. So I got right to work and I started cranking out comics. I really just wanted to get better at comics and be a better storyteller. I'm still learning how to do that to this day. Most of the work, when I look back, seems like development to me. But yet and still, I continue with this character because this character embodies something special to me. It's kind of my beginning in comics, and it's a character through which I can tell a lot of stories. The character is mostly silent, doesn't say much, and kind of is there as a witness, you know, semiotics aside. It's an interesting kind of viewpoint, and it was one that carried me through, you know, many scary world events. It was a way for me to sublimate my fear and isolation. And I talk about that in my new book a little bit here on the inside page. The character is very rewarding, and it's been a wonderful journey. I don't think I would be here talking to you right now. I don't think you'd be listening to me if I didn't do this work and kind of see where it took me. You know, one of the things also that I started doing was having all my brilliant and talented friends, and I'm missing a couple here, but all my brilliant and talented friends making covers for this. So you might recognize some of this art. And, you know, I definitely had a publisher tell me like, oh, your art looks nothing like what's on the cover. And I was like, okay, thank you. They don't really get it, you know, and it's okay if they don't get it. Like, it's one of those things, looking back, someone will be like, oh yeah, I was a fan of his from the beginning. Oh, definitely. Oh, blah, blah. You know, you just keep doing it. You keep putting out your signal. And if you're making good work, which I think I am, then it's just a matter of time before someone takes notice and wants to exploit you for it. Suffice to say, the end goal is not a publisher, right? You're still going to be doing promotion on your work regardless of who's publishing you. You're still going to be the new kid on their roster. So set your goals within something that is within your control, which is like getting better as a storyteller, getting better as an artist, whatever better means for you. You know, I can't tell you what better means for you. Only you know what better means for you. And I won't tell you because it's so subjective. But you should be making the things that you want to make and telling the stories you want to tell. I mean, what is success but having the ability and the health and the time to make the things you want to make. And if you're doing that, you are successful. So redefine success, take control of it, create your comic book character, give them a life of their own. And I mean, really, you can see how it changes from, I think in issue 11 is when it clicked in. It's like I was still doing kind of rudimentary, big pages. And then right about the end of 11 here, I start to really get into the flow of the comics page, and I better understand the composition, and I start to take it for a ride, doing 9-panel grids on purpose, changing up my shots, and really going for it. And I think 11 was the turning point. I kind of shifted into a more professional presentation. But again, the sky's the limit. I did a comic strip based on what I thought comic strips were, which is kind of like my own fumbling way into comics. I thought, oh yeah, well, I'll make like a daily strip, like a Sunday strip. And I'll make these 3-panel strips. I was like, I'll do these. So for many, many days I did 3-panel strips. And it was like 300 days of consecutive 3-panel strips. I was like, I think I have enough to publish a book. And I was like, but wait, what if I did Sunday strips in that book? So then every book or every, book end would get a Sunday strip until finally I had enough. And I just felt like I'm going to go for it. So I started self-publishing, and the rest is history. I mean, I think I'm still cusping, obviously, but it's like, I don't know. I'm so happy. I'm so pleased with the work, and I'm in a place where I feel like I can make anything I want now. So I achieved my goal, which was to be a better storyteller and to take my character for a ride. And I encourage you to do the same. If you have questions, if you want to talk more about comic book making and creating cartoon characters, I encourage you to reach out. Mike and I are here for you. We love our comics people, and we're happy that you're here. So draw something, and draw it not once, not twice, but 1,000 times. And I guarantee you, it will turn into something that pleases you. All right, that's it for me today. I hope this was informative. I don't know what I missed or glossed over, but if there's something you want to see from me, go ahead and put it in the chat. All right, much love. Talk to you soon. Peace.